pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will open up the floor for comment and discussion.
Yeah.
Nothing?
Not this time.
Not this time, or not right now.
One thing I want to do is probably apologize. I had a unfortunate situation that happened over the weekend. I was up in Waterville, Maine on a project.
You left your laptop.
I left my laptop. And so I wasn't able to do
Other than calling me off.
so consequently I haven't really gotten much sleep because I got it back what day's today? Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday. I got it back Monday night. And now I had a budget committee meeting. So anyways, what I did is this is a lot of the information that you and I had worked on on this, and what I do need is somebody to go over it, proof my work, to make sure that the way I did it. I did change the formatting around a bit, and the one thing I did is sorry to take right over on this, but I'm just going to jump right in. One thing I did, Todd, was actually this. I get 3 sheets here. Really grab one's be mine.
I don't need my glasses.
Do you? Down the bottom. What I did differently from what we've done before, I took the Farmington tuition in the bottom left. You see it says $3,254,000.
Yeah.
That's in our budget you'll see regular education for high school, elementary, and preschool and kindergarten, most units. That's what that is. And I made another column called Middleton expense. And that expense is our transportation, out of district, school board, legal, and kind of like transportation, our overhead, so to speak. But it's always consistent. And what I did with this is I took and averaged the elementary and high school annual average and went to 4.83%. It's like 4.9 for elementary and 4.91 for high school. So bottom line, I just averaged it, and then I just took that starting value and just went right down.
Over 10 years.
What I did differently, and I want to get more accurate numbers, is took the Middleton expense and went with a 3% increase, because I think that's more than enough based upon my understanding of our budgets as I looked at it. We don't generally go over 3% every year, and it's usually in line with inflation. So I made those 2 columns, and then if you look to the right, I totaled them. So you'll see $3,717,000. That's this year's budget. Okay, and that's for 2014, 2015. Then if you go to the right, you'll see Middleton expense divided by 2. And what I did is I took that $462,000 and I divided it by 2 and came up with $231. The reason I did that is just to kind of take a slice. I'm not getting into granularity. I said K to 6, half, and 7 to 12 the other half. And I know that it's probably more expense in the elementary, but I'm being conservative for our calculations, because if I was to granularize it, there'd be a higher value there. But so then what I did, I moved over to the right, and you'll see Farmington tuition divided by 2. So I just took that $3,254,000 and divided it by 2.
Okay.
And came up with 1.6. Again, we all know elementary is at $12,000 a student, and high school is at 11. So again, we're staying conservative. We're actually going with like 11.5. And then what happens is when we total half the Middleton expenses and half the Farmington tuition, we come up with 1.8, but half the area costs.
Okay.
Well, those 2 there, we really don't even use, because in 2014, 2015, we don't split it, all kids are going to
They're
Farmington.
still all in
Right.
Farmington, right?
So then the next line down, those two are the ones we use.
Right.
So if you see the 1,944,000, I do use that number.
So that's a, again,
Yeah.
that's a 4.83% increase on the F-town tuition over two, and then a 3% increase on the
Middleton expenses.
Middleton, okay.
And that all works its way through. So if you see the 1.944, what happens to that value, it pops up. If you go down the left side, right here, and up here, what I did is I made two sections. I did a 20-year bond bank payment on the upper left, and then just below it I did a 30-year USDA rural development.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm putting the 20-year bond there because that's, you know, we've kind of discussed the worst case scenario. I don't know how long we want to carry that on for. I know things are looking really good on USDA, but I think the prudent thing to do is
Be conservative.
show, you know, let's say the most cost, but everything I'm hearing really seems to be pointing towards the 30-year USDA. So I put those values in each. You know, I gotta stop here because this all started out with a simple little note sheet that Linda gave me over here at our last meeting. So I started out naming this thing Linda's spreadsheet on my computer. So, anyways,
Just like Linda did.
so what I did on the far right, up in this section here, this is kind of like, you know, where you have put data in solid raw data. And I just want to give you a little bit of background. You'll see it says startup. Well, there's that 200,000, 200,000. That makes the 400, I think it was like 398 or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Steve gave it projected, you know, textbooks, library books, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, 390.
So I put that in for the 2015-16 year and 2016-17 year, because the school opens 2016. We have an opportunity to split it out and buy
We
all
can
this
do
stuff.
half next year and then half the year this will.
So towards the end of that school year, as the school's getting done, we can buy, and I know we'll have a place for it. Then the bond, kindergarten to 6, Middleton Elementary bond. There's that 210, because again, this is on the 20-year bond that we put into our warrant article. And then there's the first bond payment of $616,000 from the schedule that we got from the SAU. And then you'll see it keeps continuing down because that's based on a
Based
flat
on the-
principal loan.
Yeah.
The Farmington Middleton area, you'll see it says $3,717,000 in our current budget. But then the next year, ta-da, there's that value again, 1.9 million. And then zero after that because the school opens.
Right.
The operating budget, again, this year is $2,465,000, and what that is made up of is the Middleton expense, okay, and the operating budget, half of it.
Half of the operating.
Half the operating expense. And the operating budget that was developed between Bill Lander and SAU 61. And I stripped out some elements that were just completely,
Yeah.
like the 4 food service people, that, you know, it's a little crazy, things like that. And school board retirement that we had.
Right.
So, sorry, we don't get that.
Damn.
There was another bucket of gas.
There was some, you know, imputed costs that really didn't belong in the budget.
That 10 cents a meeting is going downhill.
Then Governor Wentworth, looking at that $2,465,000, you look to the right, $1,700,000. Again, remember it was $1.4 million for Governor
Right,
Wentworth,
that's
including
three.
special ed, but the other half of the expenses of the overhead. Part of that reason I did that is that when Steve put together the operating budget, he actually pulled out SAU transportation stuff, if you remember. So it makes everything uniform.
Right.
It's not exact and precise, but again, we're weighted in the sense that the elementary costs are actually inflated a bit because we all know there's more costs in that area. So as I did this up here as a starting point Likewise, I did next to the USDA, and you'll see the same values as it starts out. These values on the right really won't come up on the display that Linda has or going in. It's just here so that as time goes
They
on,
feed into other calculations.
as time goes on, if we want to make adjustments, say, in the future, I put down the bottom right here, our valuation. So we could, 4 years from now, go back and adjust the
Right,
valuation.
that valuation's not likely to
And
stay
then
the same.
it'll all calculate out. But we have to keep a baseline, so that's what I did there.
Agreed.
So what happens is when you look at the Governor wetland, all of these values down up in these areas, just below what we did, really derive from all the way down here. It goes up to 2024 to 2025. And in a nutshell, you can take a look at the USDA and the bond bank, and that plots out our costs. And I take this stuff, your total education costs on both up here, because they do differ, and then I bring them down to the lower section. And to the bottom left, you'll see 20-year bond bank, and to the right, you'll see 30-year USDA. And this is where we get into taxes,
Tax impact.
best part of the conversation. So, to keep it simple, what I did is I took that original area agreement, if it continues, with that 3.7 million on the far left, and I went down based on that 4.83% average annual for the next 10 years, as it was on the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I did a comparison of the 20-year bond bank cost of 3.9. You take where your left finger is, you go,
Yeah,
that's the area agreement,
right.
that's
This
the
is a
bond.
20-year bond.
Yeah, that's the bond cost.
Mhm.
There's the variance, well, you recognize the 210,
Yeah.
right? That has a tax impact based on current valuation of $1.30. Then you go to the next line, next year, and you'll see the area agreement will have gone up some. Likewise, we go up a lot in that first year, that bond, we go up 531,000. That's the variance between we continue on with the area,
Yeah.
and we go with the 20-year bond.
And these figures are coming from
Yep.
up here.
Right.
And then you gotta get a tax rate through 28. The highest peak year is year 3, which is very typical with any school bond, is $6.01. Then after that, it starts going down because being a flat level bond, it keeps going down. The USDA, on the other hand, which is obviously the one we're really all looking at, because it's a 30-year and a flat 398 or 400, I call it $400,000 cost. The variances are much different. In fact, we can take a construction loan, and we know that on short-term notes, that's a fairly low-cost loan. So I'm throwing in a value of $100,000 for the first year. If this article passes, by the way, we'll have an overage, and we get the USDA loan, we'll have an overage of $110,000 to carry over to the next year. But, so we're gonna carry the 100, and then here's the next one here. The second year, there's only a variance of $15,000. So, we saw a tax impact of 62 cents with the USDA loan. It drops down to 9 cents. Anybody wanna know why?
Sure.
Governor Wentworth is a natural savings of $88,000.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Okay?
I thought it was greater than that, I thought it was up.
It is, but with special ed costs, we have a
Yeah,
budget from
yeah,
them,
you gotta add
estimated budget of
100.
$106,000. We were seeing over almost
Yeah,
a $200,000 savings, but we need to figure that in, so that's calculated into here. So, very little, but here's year 3, $4.78, okay? And then from there, it starts going down. You'll notice that on both, well, on the USDA, when you get to year 2023, 2024, that's when we see our first savings compared to the area agreement. And then obviously tax impact change. So the one thing that I hear people saying is our taxes are gonna go down. They're never gonna go down. And you'll hear the naysayers say, taxes never go down. Well, they're right. Because the area agreement or the bond, whichever it is, and inflation, costs always go up. So, but this ties in with what Todd put together in the chart, that 10 to 11 year projection.
Right, where the two budgets cross. If we have our own school, or we stay with the area agreement in 10 years.
Yeah.
What I did is I took, on my best estimation, is the median home value is $170,000. So I put this in at 170, again, based on the town valuations, and 170, it's a multiplier of that tax impact. The difference compared to having the area agreement will be these values going up. The most significant is year 3, again, of the bond, $1,000, on a $170,000 home. On a USDA loan, it's $800, okay? But when you get out to here, you see that. The one thing to remember is this projection is a go-it-alone projection. What I mean by that is the legislature has gone,
Right.
you're on your own,
Right.
no construction aid. We don't know what we can get for federal education grants. The SAU would have to sit down and really go through, because right now they've done all grant applications based on the Farmington schools. The demographics are clearly different from an adequacy aid standpoint. So likewise Title I, so they would have to sit down and start scrutinizing, go through all the available grants to figure out. Right now, I think the last thing we knew, we had 15,000 IDA, there might be another 10 or 15 that they kind of just grasped onto real quick. We know there's others out there.
Right, because the USDA told us that once you have a school, come back as well, because they have more.
So this is really like, again, the most tax impact. We know that there's gonna be, you know, savings. I mean, I went to the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. I'm willing to bet we could easily pull a $25,000 grant. But you're only gonna get that if you have the school.
Right.
You know, these are the things that you need to have in
That's
place.
step one.
Case in point, I mean, Farmington got a SIG grant for $1 million, right? Why? Because they have a school.
Right.
They get federal aid, up to $1 million. Why? Because they have a school. You know, so there's, you know, we have 7 to save. Yeah, the building's hurt over there. How do we get that $175,000 grant? Because we have the building. So if you don't have the building, you're not gonna get it.
This is your worst case scenario.
This is a worst case.
So,
Well, it gives you the two,
2 options.
Well, it gives you a worst case and then a more likely case.
And even the more likely case doesn't include any possible revenue.
Right.
so the other piece, and this does not fit in with what Linda did so wonderfully. It's just a draft. I didn't have the time to put everything in. What I did is at the top, and I'll listen in it. I wrote all school district warrant articles
Someone show it.
are unanimously recommended.
Rats.
Are unanimously recommended by the school board and budget committee. I think that's a strong statement. I think it's worth noting. And I'm putting across here, Middleton can do it alone, because we can. Facts, I'm just kind of going down through, and this is kind of be like the financial piece that I think Linda reserved in here somewhere. I'm just grabbing a hold of some of this information right off the bat of what we just covered, just to give an eye opener on it. And I haven't seen what Linda has done, but we don't necessarily have to do this. But basically identifying the year 3. Item 2, the land is buildable, expandable, and debt-free. Building designs for 140 to 180 students, future expansion capabilities to multi-purpose room and classrooms. This land was purchased over 30 years ago by the school district and is completely paid for. The curriculum is solid. The withdrawal plan includes a grade 7 to 12 tuition agreement with Governor Wentworth Regional School District. Governor Wentworth is an accredited school, includes the Regional Technical Education Center, and is one of the top 5 schools in the state. The Middleton K-6 elementary school would adopt the established Governor Wentworth elementary school curriculum. Early intervention of our youngest children would be in our school and no longer transported out of our community. The advantage of building a K-6 elementary school provides permanent placement for our youngest children within our community. Again, it's permanent. We do know 7 to 12 is a tuition agreement. Similar to the area agreement, we know it's not permanent. B, no more tuition costs. Middleton currently pays $1.6 million in K-6 education costs, which can be used for the new operating budget. No more per child tuition costs. Middleton recently experienced over a 10% increase in student enrollment. The K-6 school will already have capacity for more students. Currently, elementary tuition is $12,000 per student. D, no more out-of-town busing for K-6, reducing time and transportation costs. E, additional town facilities and meeting rooms to support the town. F, located near the town center, creating a natural town hub. Modern technology infrastructure. Increased property values in the community. Local control keeps Middleton tax dollars at home. I put 5 in here, Frank Marin's Architects, because I've been getting perceptions from people that Marin's Architects is a lousy architect. Whether we're at State Board of Education, there was some inference made there, which our attorney countered. There's also been some inference on the floor here at the deliberative session. So I wanted to make sure we put this in here because there's no, at State Board of Education, Ed Lawson turned around and made it clear that he knew him and that he wasn't trying to speak ill of him. But there's these little subtleties I keep hearing out there, and it's completely uncalled for. So I put a note in here. Frank Marinese has provided a conceptual design to be the most affordable use of our tax dollars without compromising the education, safety, and comfort of our children and staff. Mr. Marinese is considered by many to be the best architect of schools in the state of New Hampshire and has designed an abundance of projects throughout the state. A new school will be energy efficient, designed to meet energy code initiatives adopted in the recent years. 6, the cost of education in the past 10 years has been increasing on average just under 5% every year. We should quantify that per our area, within the area agreement. It's not a general statement. Stratford County Regional Planning projects Farmington population increases at a lower rate than Middleton. Middleton students will increase proportionally in the schools and will shift tuition financial costs to Middleton, while Farmington owns title to the schools. With a new school comes more volunteerism, grants, fundraising, and donations. Petition Article 9 provides voters the opportunity to form an SAU withdrawal committee. This will provide opportunity to have meaningful discussions with SAU 49, Governor Wentworth, the Superintendent of Services. SAU 61 has experienced significant administrative turnover over the years. Students, staff, and taxpayers deserve administration stability. And that's no inference to you, Steve. You obviously came in, it's part of that turnover, but you're filling the gap that's needed. It's beyond your control.
To go back to 4D,
Yeah.
was any of the reduction in costs of busing and transportation figured into any of this?
No.
Okay.
It's kind of,
I know, I was just wondering.
I estimated it's 2 more miles to Governor Wentworth, and then there's a savings of 9 miles to the school. Gives you like a net of 7. I just threw a rough calculation. It's like 6,600 miles every year. And it, I don't know what the cost per mile is, but
There are a lot of things in here that are not.
Oh, I understand that, I was
So-
just wondering if it was. Frank Marinese, does he have a website?
yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
worth putting
Yep, definitely.
that in there, just
That
so
might be
if
good.
people wanna go look and
See some
see?
of his work.
Yeah. And I think on your thing, I think the word can should be capitalized.
Well, some of this stuff is repeated in other
Yep.
parts, so, we need to figure out how we're gonna, some of it's worth repeating.
Is
Yeah,
there anything financially that
yeah, let me ask you.
you're not hearing that
No,
you want to
it's
hear?
not that I'm not hearing, just I want a clarification. In the draft document, pages 8 and 9, we've got just the projected education costs on the 20-year and on the 30-year. And then this is the chart you just went over.
Oh.
Current 20-year, 30 years. Do we need,
No, I think we should just get rid of
get
this.
rid of the page 8?
It's too complicated.
Good, that's what I thought too. Because it's total number, and that's what people are asking, the total number.
And I think that's what this does here.
Yes. And I was putting it in, I missed commas, I missed periods, I got $34 million in 2017, I was doing this in the dark, I couldn't copy and paste, so
Okay.
I don't even want to talk
But
about it.
you get the essence
Yeah.
of it.
Do we want to call the 30-year USDA loan something?
Yeah, it's a 30-year, it's actually,
Because this is a bond,
yeah,
this is a,
I thought I had that written in there, but I guess not.
Community development.
Can I throw a little,
Yeah, so we want to throw in 30-year USDA community loan or just loan?
it's not a block grant, right? Is it?
I don't know, no, I don't know.
No, that's
It's a
something
community
different.
loan. It's actually a facility community loan.
So I'll just call it a community loan.
With the USDA, we are figuring with a 30-year loan only, but they do have 25-year loans also. So do we want to specifically say a 30-year loan? When we're telling people, this is
Well,
a
that's-
Well, this is
30,
just an example.
this is what this is
calculation.
figured out.
That's what these values are based on.
right.
So if you want to do 25, I got the,
I know that, but I'm saying there's a possibility that we may look at a 25 before it's all said and done and say, this is the best financial.
and we have that latitude by putting in the 20-year bond bank, because
Okay.
that's a higher cost.
That's what I'm trying to say, as long as we know that there is a possibility that we can go a different way if we want.
That's why they're both here.
Okay.
We did the most case variance and
Yep.
the least case variance.
What does the, I know what it means, but what does the most case variance and least case variance mean? How would the average person reading this know what those two things
Yeah.
mean?
You're right, and I think we need to have a short narrative on here.
Well, you got a whole new page over here. It's freed up.
So let's sort of make a narrative.
Oh, I don't watch it.
And what we can do is we can actually grab, how's this sound, Linda, if we grab like the first line and pull it out separately
Explain it.
and then explain it
Yes,
out.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think
then-
that's important.
Yep, and then they'll get the rest.
Yeah.
You'll understand the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
We need to call it something other than most case and least case, though.
Yes.
It's really just that's
The
what it
variance,
is.
just say
I wouldn't
variance.
even call it what kind of case.
Just say
it's
variance.
just- Yeah,
As long as you're explaining it, that should be fine.
and the same thing with the most and the least tax impact.
I should just
the
say
tax
it's
impact.
variance from area, but
So all this came out of that little tiny piece of paper that I think slipped him last week.
Yeah.
I said, this is what we need,
and I threw it
and
away.
it looks just like that now.
So I did want to, actually, I carried out 11 years, just because we're already in one of these years, but it actually goes out 11.
And sometimes it sounds so far away when you're talking 20 and 24, but it's only 10 years.
10 years
Just
ago,
think back where you were 10 years ago. It's not that long.
2005, in 2005, we had a $7,000 or $8,000 tuition rate.
I had just moved back.
That's what our tuition rate was back then.
It never goes down, we know that.
Well, it did in some years. It
Yeah.
went down like 10 or 15% some years, and then it went up 42% in a year. It's, the statistics are all over the place, and that's you know,
And this brings stability at not a great cost, and,
Well,
and gives us
It
ability.
it brings us stability for sure, K through 6.
Yeah.
yeah, gives permanency,
Right.
absolute
The
permanency.
7 through 12 will always be a variable.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
There's no way
Definitely.
we're gonna build a K to 12.
Half is better than none.
We're not gonna build a K to 12
Right,
school.
maybe in another 40 or 50 years, they'll be looking at building a high school.
You know,
Not in my time, at least not while I'm conscious.
I won't be on the school
Neither will I.
committee for another 50 years from now.
No, John and I will not be on the
Never
school
say
board
never.
for 50 years. Yeah.
Hey, I put your brain inside that glass jar in the front foyer, you know?
His brain's going to Italy.
Yeah, you know it.
To a vineyard somewhere.
Just having fun. Brain for a
Filled with olive oil.
trip. Yeah, it's preserved in olive oil. All right.
Is there anything else we wanted to talk about this?
Yes,
Is there
we
something
want-
else that you're?
Well, we
Well,
got.
finances,
Yeah.
is there anything else finances you feel you wanna know?
That's good. I'm gonna look at these when I get home and just go over these real carefully. What I'm gonna do is, because I know there's some different numbers on certain things, I'm gonna start looking at some of the revenues that I know that are gonna be there.
Yeah, we
On
know
my
for
own,
sure,
I
and
for
revenues we know
myself,
for sure
I wanna
we're
know
gonna get.
for sure. There are some that we know,
That would be good.
just to, you know, for my own satisfaction, we know we can get some of these numbers down, we know that. But that's very good. It's a good comparative thing that you can take a good look at.
That's why I titled it apples to apples, because it's full cost versus full cost.
So again, Todd, I do wanna go over this with you, just to, I need to have a second set of eyes to go through the numbers on this. I'm pretty confident, but I just,
So in this,
you
in
know,
this
the
mailing,
engineering routine, so.
the front page is pretty, you know, it's stuff that we've used before, and I've just taken it from someplace else. Pages 2 and 3 were in the handout at the deliberative session, so there's nothing there. Page 4 on the bottom of page 5 is also stuff that was in the handout, but yeah, we cut a lot of it out. Because I don't think there's as much concern, Ken and I agree, there's not much concern anymore with the people, if they're not gonna be with their friends, I think they're getting over that. So we shortened that segment of it. So it's just the impact on the students and the residents of having a school here in town. Then we wanted to have a recap of the top questions there from the deliberative session. And the ones that I remembered was the size of the school and the bond number. Now, wasn't it 195 was the maximum occupancy of the school?
Yes,
So here you
yeah.
say 140 to 180,
Yeah, I
that's
just-
the optimum, this is
Yeah.
the maximum. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say 180, I wouldn't,
Okay.
I mean, you
So I'll
can do
just say,
195.
I'll take out the word a maximum, so I'll just say accommodate 180, how's that? And our proposed enrollment is 140, right? And then I don't remember what other questions we wanted to reiterate here. And then I did a little thing on the Governor Wentworth tuition agreement, how it's a win-win for both us and Governor Wentworth. Because they're happy with it, so. That number 2. Pages 6 and 7 are open for the public here. We started with, on 7, I had started with trying to do an explanation of what was going to follow, which was the financial data. Because the financial data are going to be the last 2, maybe, facing pages. So I put in there that, you know, why we don't know the exact amounts of the bond. I mean, we're so close. But until you sign the papers, you're not going to know the exact number. That we don't have any potential revenues in there because we don't know them yet, but we anticipate it. And how that the tax rates are based on the new assessment.
Do we know any, like names of potential revenue that we could actually,
Well, I just said future building aid grants, et cetera. I didn't go into detail, but if John is gonna do some,
But we'd be eligible for adequacy aid, correct, Steve, right?
We always are.
Yeah, you get that
that's
now
not-
anymore.
We do that.
that's not
Um,
gonna, yeah.
And just
And Title I.
just to go back on this, keep in mind that, you know, this, you know, I stayed with the variance. I didn't wanna get into, minus the adequacy.
Right.
Right. that
Get it all
gets
complicated,
convoluted.
because it really doesn't matter. It's, you know.
but I think if
have
we
to
could
approve.
list some, additional revenues, if we could actually list some of them that there are, like the adequacy aid,
Do you wanna show
Medicare
those?
reimbursement.
I was thinking more of offsetting the
But
cost
see,
of the building.
yeah, but see, the thing is
Because we get
Medicare,
that.
we already have that. It's
That's
nothing.
already in the numbers,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
We need to really keep it, you know,
Don't
I think we-
overload them, there's enough
This would be,
information there.
this would be new revenues,
Okay.
things that we don't get now.
so what you could do, some potential revenues include future New Hampshire construction building aid, federal and state education grants,
Title I grant,
that's,
that's
what it is.
Okay, all right,
you know,
under federal, okay.
and you could put in fundraising, I put some stuff in there on the piece that I have.
There's where you could put some of the savings for the busing.
You could do some reduced costs,
Some reduced costs in busing, that's a saving.
yeah, which is already in an area I have, so it basically kind of merging some of that stuff together.
Okay. I'll take some of this, you've got some of those in here. And then, Ken, you talked about putting in a construction timeline,
Okay.
which really isn't construction timeline, but it's like for March 11th going forward.
And I
If
have
everything
that,
passes.
I have that already somewhere.
Someplace. I remember seeing it somewhere.
I think you have it in your PowerPoint.
So,
Let me just send it, I'll send it to,
Yeah.
I have a separate document.
Yeah. And then we have also talked about putting in Effingham as a model.
Well,
People were very impressed with Kelly C's presentation. But I don't have her materials.
Let me see if I can get something, yeah, maybe she has something, a succinct, short
Yeah.
paragraph.
It could be bigger than a short cut. And if she can give us a photograph or something that we can drop in there, you know, like maybe that picture that she showed with the kids standing around the 10th anniversary banner, or, you know, the kids running the school or something, because I couldn't get anything off the website. This stuff is so dry, we gotta have some pictures in there. So if we could have picture happy kids, I'd be happy to have picture happy kids. So then, we come to the numbers. So
Page 8 is.
if I can get the
That's-
Effingham model, the school construction timeline, and this financing thing on the one page, that will give you a page for what's left of here, which we haven't put elsewhere, and then this page could be the explanation of what all these things mean, and then this chart would be on this page. Now, we had also talked about having another presentation or two, and I gotta get that in here someplace. Squeeze
I'd
that
like
in
to-
on a page somewhere.
I'd like to
We're on back.
thing I don't notice in here is, all three need to pass. Is that in here
No,
somewhere?
I don't think so.
Reading it.
Read these things so many times.
Oh,
And then once you get there.
Yeah, I think we need to,
yeah, I don't think it's in here.
we need to get that in here.
Maybe we could put it in the recap from the community session,
I think it needs to stand right out.
okay?
Maybe in the back section you have, don't forget to vote. The choice is yours.
Dedicated page entirely to it. Dedicated page entirely to it.
When you're sending this out, you should mention that they can get a absentee ballot.
Do we know the dates on when they can get an absentee
They-
ballot?
They have to come here and sign in for it.
Yeah, but I
And
don't
they
know
could
what the
pick it
deadline
up.
is.
I think they can sign in for it now and it will be sent out to them. Because I know people have already asked people it.
Yes, okay, so when you do, all three must pay.
Debbie has the ballots, so she should be able to give them to you.
Right. She got the ballots today.
Yeah, but there are dates, aren't there, so there's a window to get an absentee ballot, aren't there? Yeah, we can't add just one page, we would have to add two, because it's back to front, and we have to have this one.
An informational page, or things like that.
Yeah, my feeling is I don't have a problem repeating the same thing over and over again as long as we're using different words. I don't have an issue with that. So, but my hope of getting this out this week is definitely going down the.
There was some mention about the excursion up to Governor Wentworth this past Saturday. Is that in there? How many turned out? What the reactions were?
It's not,
Something?
I don't know, to me, this isn't a newspaper, this is,
Yeah, we gotta, well, it's actually time. I think right now, based on what, I agree, it would be a good idea, but I
Yeah.
think the timing is off.
yeah.
You could do a short blurb, because I did a count, there were 90 people
Yeah,
there
there were.
when I did a count. And I frantically called Pat Britto and said, you 90 people.
Well, maybe I could just do like a little line somewhere, you know, like, along an edge or something,
Yep.
you know. Questions about what the schools look like, talk to one of the 90 people who went to the open house.
Well, you don't wanna say that,
Well,
I know.
because it's kind of, New Yorkish.
Oh, pardon me.
How's that?
Gee, I wonder why. It's not, I'm not saying it in a nasty way, it's, you wanna know what it was like, talk
Well,
to
they would-
somebody who
They
was
would,
able to
they
go.
would, they would know who it is.
I do have to tell you though, when I talked to you about, we do have a Dun and Bradstreet number, the school.
Okay, yeah, that's some, let's stay on topic, John.
Yeah. Well, but you're gonna incur a cost, because it has to be updated.
I agree, but we haven't passed it yet, so let's not
It
get
has
there.
nothing to do with this, but it's,
So, I'd like to propose March 8th, that we do it. I know, Linda, you said that March 1st, there was a candidates' day.
No, I think, when was the candidates, is it March
March 8th
8th
on
was the
10 to 12.
candidates day, that's what I told you.
The 8th?
Yeah.
Each
On my
candidate?
calendar.
Yeah, we
Candidate, yeah.
we have to do this on the 8th.
We do it right after the, yeah, do it right after the
You have
candidate.
maybe half the audience. Maybe we will.
Or maybe it'll be 4 people there, who knows?
I mean, is the each candidate's gonna take 2 hours?
It's what-
No, we just set aside the hours because it's available. I mean,
You did
let's
10
just
to
take maybe
12,
an hour, if
right.
that. I mean, it doesn't matter if it ends and there's no questions. I'll start your break. I'll
So
take half an hour.
if we plan on
So-
starting it at 11.
At
So I
11?
think you don't think an hour is enough to meet the candidates? How long did it run the last time?
I think it's probably,
It's like an hour and a half.
yeah,
so.
roughly.
Wasn't that long?
Has this been advertised yet?
Laura's putting it on the thing, yes, absolutely.
So if we do it at noon, so we do it at 9, from 9 to 10, can we do it in an hour?
I'd say 9 to 11.
But the candidates is at 10.
Okay.
So we'll do dueling presentations.
Well,
I kinda surprised, you really gotta think about priority level here.
But it's already been sent out. It's already been promoted.
Okay.
How has it been promoted?
Let me talk to Laura tomorrow
Yeah.
and see
Just
what,
where has it gone to? Like, is it
Exactly,
to
'cause
the newspaper or?
we put it out there and stuff like that, so at what point she's with it with the budget and all this, I'm not sure, I
So
can't
maybe
speak to
we
it
could
yet,
just
so.
amend it
Maybe we can.
and do
So,
the school from
What is
9
it,
to
what
10.
timeframe are you looking at for you guys? 9 to 11?
Should only be 2 hours.
Okay,
We don't wanna
so
get,
maybe we can do
people
that.
get burned out.
9 to 11 and see if we can't change ours, if she hadn't done anything with it, then we'll go from 11 to whatever.
March
You don't have that many
Yes.
people running anyway, so
And
it shouldn't take
then
them.
from 11 to 2 to 1 is candidates
The
then.
only contested seat is select.
I think it's gonna be 11 to the top 11 to
not
12
that-
and people will be
11
out.
to
There's
1.
not, there's not that many
The
seats
town
up
clerk.
this year.
Oh, town clerk.
Um,
I'm not available.
And I think we should do it, one evening as well, for people who can't come.
do anybody have a sense on what the demographic is? Is that the one people who work on Saturday? I don't know. We are basing that on.
I'm basing that on the people who posted to the Facebook page, that they couldn't come to the open house because they worked on Saturday, they couldn't come to the hearing because they worked on Saturday. So I'm just basing it on what people were posting on
So
that.
you
When
want
we
a
had it
night?
during the week, then it was the people during the week.
Yeah, but you
Well, if there's-
want
if
to
there's-
give the people a chance.
If there's a number of people, I'm just asking.
You know, if
Yeah.
they,
But if you have to, you cover it all.
I wanna make,
yeah,
I
I mean,
wanna,
if they choose not to come, they can choose not
just
to
to
come,
make sure
that's
it's
their
not just one
business.
person asking. it.
Right.
We're all gonna be sitting
No.
and standing, and one
It's,
person will show up.
You're talking about during the week, say something like
Some
7
evening.
to 9?
Yeah, or 6:30 to 8:30, something like that.
Like my grandson and his,
And
Like
calling
they-
it just a informal informational
I don't know.
question and answer session?
Are we good with the time? Do we want to come up with a time? I don't want to get too far in the weeds if we don't have the time or availability.
Now, you had talked about basically taking the presentation that you did last year and fine tuning that.
Strip it down, just do a quick little
So
Governor Wentworth
it
thing.
wouldn't be the
Yeah.
comparison, it
Just
wouldn't
to-
be like what we did with the delivery.
No, just to, there's
too
a,
long.
I think it was like an hour, but it shouldn't even be an hour. We just need to, in case somebody doesn't know anything about it, just breeze through it real quick. This is Governor
Yeah.
Wentworth, this is what it is, and, I think there was some, we did 2, there was a Q&A after the questions that people had at the end of that, actually probably the ones to bullet out. Because I did, in the second one, I presented the answers to those questions, and they were all really good questions.
And maybe hit on the financial, this one chart that is comparing everything.
Yeah, we could. But I think more importantly, we should just get right into this stuff here. It wouldn't hurt just to do a real quick run through.
Well, that Wednesday is Ash Wednesday.
Is what?
Wednesday the 5th is Ash Wednesday, and Tuesday is Mardi Gras. I don't know.
So you don't wanna do,
Celebrate.
you don't wanna do the 8th, then you're gonna talk
No,
about
well,
the
I think we
5th?
should do the 8th, which is a Saturday morning,
Okay,
and we need to do an evening. I'm just
Six.
saying, I would stay away from Ash Wednesday, and I don't know about that Tuesday.
The 6th then, Thursday?
6?
So do the 6th and the 8th.
okay.
7 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
And you wanna do it
6:30.
I would,
across the
yeah,
street.
7?
7, I would say
then
7.
people get home,
Give them a chance to get
have
something
some
to eat.
dinner.
Okay.
Full town?
7 to 9, OTH.
OTH.
I'll mark it on the
And
calendar.
Saturday is also at OTH, right?
You better make sure it's booked.
Otherwise, if there's a baby shower in there, we're doing it anyway.
A lot of the issues will be out of book time.
So that's,
Might be the quilters might be there on Thursday.
at
Oh, the quilters.
7.
I think there is somebody in there on Thursday. I'll call Laura. in the morning.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't.
I'll call Laura in the morning.
And then the other date's 3/8.
And you're doing 10,
And then turn the clocks forward.
9 to 11.
they're 9 to 11?
9 to 11.
So we're just gonna, when they're done, we'll take over?
No,
We are.
the school wants to do
We're
it
gonna
9
make it
to
after we get
11,
done.
and the candidates would be 11 to 1.
I missed
We're
that.
gonna have to our time frame for you.
I missed the whole
We're
conversation.
we're
We're
Accommodating.
working together.
accommodating.
We're working together, hand in hand.
It's not very important, so.
9 o'clock.
Gee, look at that, Monday, March 17th, I got nothing on the calendar.
And I'm sorry you guys, but we're out of cookies.
Yeah, the rec committee's run out of cookies. I may have to bake, I still have cookies I can bake. And no more oatmeal.
When do we wanna get the flyer in the mail?
I wanted to do it this week, but obviously that's not gonna happen.
Very nice.
We have to meet again to go over another version of it.
Do we? I think you can do it.
No, I am not taking on the responsibility of doing it finally, putting it out there and then having, with all these
Well, is it
numbers
Something
coming
you
back
can
and
send
saying,
electronically and just get our
I
feedback.
don't know, are we allowed to do that?
Maybe if you filtered it through the SAU, you could probably do something like that.
Is that like having a meeting without having a meeting?
You're kind of skirting it a little bit.
Yeah.
I can check and see if that's legit. You can call Barry Christina.
It's really
I don't-
we discussed the content.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to sit down with Linda as well, just to, get the number stuff. I just need to sit down with you, just
Go
from
through
a,
that.
from a math proofing standpoint, methodology. But I'm more than happy to sit down with Linda, so she's not the only one. I understand what she's saying. But I guess really the concept of all of this was to find out, is there anything we're missing, and,
I think it looks great.
any more information we need to do
Do you have a?
to really, to show that how, we really, we may want to put some emphasis that the board supports this project and we recommend approval.
If they haven't figured that out.
I think Todd mentioned about, or somebody said about the 3 articles they need to pass,
Yeah,
so this is
I'll
a
get
mute.
something.
Yeah,
This is all
that's
mute.
important.
And the answers, the questions from the bond hearing and deliberative session, if you have a couple of more of the more.
I wrote down all the
Yeah,
questions.
the ones that were the most
can email them.
impactful, we'll stick those in there.
This really isn't rocket science at this point. We're really just taking a lot of known information and populating it.
So if, today's Wednesday the 19th. Well, if we can get it out next week, that still gives us, it's before Thursday the 6th. And we'll put in here about Thursday the 6th and the presentations.
So,
So bring your questions, your comments, or if you just want to see things,
Yeah.
come.
so what's your availability between now and whenever, just to go through this? Yeah,
Not tomorrow, Friday.
Friday.
Friday evening.
Okay, let's do that. And when do you want to get together?
I have to get all the information. When I get all the stuff that
You'll give me a
goes in
call.
here, if you want to do it on Sunday,
I've got some things to do for you already as well.
And then that would give me, next week, I can shoot it over to the Staples, same old deal, pick it up the next day, have a folding party, and get it out by like Thursday.
Call me, I'll be here all day.
Let me know if you're gonna do it in the afternoon again, I can come in after work.
Yeah, I'll ask.
Are you gonna staple and fold?
We can't staple.
Can't staple.
Dots.
We have dots.
So it's all loose papers?
It gets, didn't you get one in the mail?
Folds
It's
in half
folded,
and then
it's dots on 3 sides.
Yes, I know, the other one was only one piece of paper.
It was 2 pieces of paper, wasn't it? Wasn't it? It was 2.
Yeah, there
It
was
was 2.
multiple
It was
pages.
2
They don't,
sheets.
they don't come out, I get a lot of mail with it, just that.
I was just, so we're not stapling,
We can't staple.
we can't staple.
Post office will not accept staple.
It's caught.
And this is, right now this is 10 pages, which is 5 sheets of paper, and we can do 14. So we're fine with the size of it.
I think you don't wanna make it, you wanna keep it as small as possible.
Oh, yeah.
There's Cambridge Press as well, I don't know if they're worth the home, but I can ask.
You know who else to check with, or I can call tomorrow, is, down next to Tilcon in Farmington, the UPS store.
Oh,
The fire department did a lot of stuff, dating myself, or I'll call it Vickers. That's really dating myself.
Just 'cause I wanted to
The
show
fire
you.
department got a lot of stuff printed off down there. When I went in there and told them what I was doing it for, she did it for nothing.
really? Well, this is 800 and something copies of this many pages. Nobody's gonna do that for nothing.
Are you supplying the paper and they're just copying, or
No,
their paper?
everything. And it'll be done in black and white, even though the clip art is in color.
I can call and ask, how many copies?
I forget the number, it was 800,
So 2 reams of
870,
paper?
I think we did. I think we did 875.
Times how many pages?
Oh, well, this
I'm
is
just trying to figure out how many reams of paper.
5 sheets of paper, 10 two-sided. So it's 8,000. 8,700. Right? No, it's half that, because it's not, that's 10 sheets, it's only 5 sheets. That's why I don't do the math. If I were charging the math, our school would either cost $12 or
870
$78,900
times
5.
5,
4,350
350.
divided by
500,
500 sheets to a ream.
so 9 reams.
Pretty
It's a
much
lot.
a piece of paper.
And stapled sheets, that nice paper too, that was nice. The cost, the last time was what, $250 something for the copy? That was the larger cost. And they did it was ready that night, I could've gone that night to pick it up. I got the email like 10:30 at night that it was done.
Oh yeah, because they do this, they put it on the machine, they punch in the numbers and they walk away.
They don't even, I didn't even do this, I did it electronically. I didn't go to Staples,
Well, that's
I
even
put
easier
it-
for them,
I
they
put
just
it
send it
in.
from their computer. and
From
they-
the computer, and they print it off, and
Walk
that's it.
away.
And then they take it off the printer, throw it in a box, and put my name on it.
Does anybody else have anything on
Is
the
that
newsletter?
collated for you somehow?
Yeah.
Any other business?
So the sooner you can get me things that need to be in here, the happier I'll be.
Can you send this electronically too, so I can start following through it, see if it's general?
I think I deserve extra credit for pulling the right numbers on the sheet.
Steve, did you have anything for us?
Do we have to sign stuff?
I'll open up the floor for public input.
I was just make a comment about
A
last
comment.
Saturday.
Yes.
Very nice up there in Gilman Wentworth or Kingswood. And some of the comments I heard, one family was divided. One couldn't wait and the other was like, do I dare say anything in front of mom and dad? Type of deal. But I think, overall, very, very positive.
The thing that I came away with was that people I've never met before from
Same
there.
here.
There are a lot of new people.
And it was really a real nice testament of what can be accomplished. if we have a school, because there's new people that come to this community, and I sometimes feel like, because it's a small community, they might feel like they're barging in. And I'll be honest, when I first came into town, I know, like you, Todd, and John, it wasn't the case for you guys, but with the community, you walk up to a building, there's a lot of people in the building. Some people are hesitant to go, there's an anxiety, and they kind of feel like it's kind of a closed community, although we're not. I think having a school, actually, it's a public, much more public, and it breaks down a certain barrier. And I think that's really kind of what happened Saturday. There was some barrier to grow.
It takes a little bit to get over that hurdle. It's a learning process for them, because they've never done it before.
Yeah, hopefully they don't go to town meeting for a couple of years.
My daughter lives over in Bow, and I go to a lot of functions over there with my two grandchildren there. And I'll tell you, you've never seen turnouts at schools like that, when you have their own system going, and the amount of volunteers in the town is phenomenal, which is what we heard from Effingham.
Yeah.
We get our own place, and the people will turn up.
I was really impressed with the number of administrators and teachers and such that were there. And the kids doing the tour.
Who's that?
Hey, good job.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
The boys were a little tongue-tied, at least the ones that we had leading us around. We had two boys and two
Our kids
girls.
were good.
No, yeah.
We had eighth grade, it was a football team. He did really well.
Yeah, the kid
Garrison.
We had a senior boy that was about 2 feet taller than me.
Well, everybody's 2 foot tall.
One other point is, I'm a little miffed that Linda gets to ride the elevator, it'd be special.
Hey,
We
one
have
of
to
you
walk
was
to
so
school.
bad, are you kidding? After going up and down those stairs, I couldn't do it anymore. And it was nice, one of the, I don't remember who he was, if he was a school board member or what. He says, come on, take out the elevator. And I asked him, I said, do the kids need, when they need to use the elevator, they have a key that they use? Because I remember in high school, you had to have a key if you sprained your ankle or something. He said, no, the elevator's available all the time. We trust our kids. They need it, they use it. If they don't need it, they don't. He says, it's amazing what you can put, how kids will surprise you when you give them trust. So, I mean, just looking at that place, you know they didn't have a group come through and do a special cleaning or, I mean, everything was just so well maintained and just,
It's a nice place.
really is a nice
Steve, I
place.
did have one comment. A member of the public did call me, communicated with me regarding the Farmington statement, Farmington School Board statement that was put on the SAU website. They didn't feel that it was appropriate to be on the SAU website because it's a Farmington School Board statement, that they felt it should be on the Farmington section of the SAU website. And I said I would pass that information
Yep,
along.
I just did what we were directed to do.
It's actually a Farmington, it's owned by the Farmington School
I'm
District.
passing the
It's not the
information along.
SAU's website. Am I right? That's Farmington's, Farmington owns it.
I guess
Well,
technically, yeah, because the servers,
The SAU doesn't own,
we don't own anything.
so you can't tell.
Well,
They
it's
just
just a
felt that
comment
it
that
should
they made.
be,
Yeah,
Maybe
that when you go
Farmington
on
passing
to
it
the
along.
SAU website, that it's for the SAU administrator. And it should be,
On the
if it's a
Farmington
Farmington
page.
statement, then it should be on the Farmington page.
Yeah, but by the same token, the withdrawal documents are right up there on the front page when you open it up too, aren't they?
they are,
So,
but we didn't put them there.
no, we didn't. I mean, by the
But you
same
had
token.
requested that they be accessible
Yeah,
and
but
easily,
by the
so
same
we tried to
token, somebody
accommodate
from
that.
Farmington could say, oh, that doesn't belong there, it should be on the
I
Middleton
think
page.
what it's getting into is micromanaging the webmaster,
Yeah.
who and where and all that stuff, but obviously there's been some things on there that the superintendent addressed
Yeah.
very quickly in the past, but
Yeah, and I know that issue got brought up at their board meeting on Monday night by a member of the public from Middleton, so, about whether it should be placed there or not. So, if it's the same person, she did express herself at the Farmington board meeting too. Directly to the Farmington board.
Just bring that information back.
I really just sounds like a webmaster who does that. That's
I love that term.
formatting. You like that term, webmaster?
I'd like to make a motion. Motion to adjourn.
Do we need to make a motion while you make a motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of adjourning
Aye.
at 7:44?
Wow.
Record setting.
No,
Don't say nothing, don't let me take, because it's being videotaped.
And here's all the financial information that's available, with the bond and the session.